Millions of people know Jackie Chan as the fearless action star who could do things nobody else dared to attempt. They know the breathtaking stunts, the impossible jumps, the broken bones, the movies that made him famous across the world. But what if the most extraordinary thing about Jackie Chan isn't what he did on screen? What if the real story is what happened long before Hollywood knew his name? Because behind the smile, behind the success, and behind the laughter that made millions love him, there is a story of sacrifice so extreme that most people would never have survived it. A story of abandonment, pain, discipline, loneliness, and a childhood that would shape every decision he made for the rest of his life. And trust me, millions of people know Jackie Chan as the fearless action star who could do things nobody else dared to attempt. They know the breathtaking stunts, the impossible jumps, the broken bones, the movies that made him famous across the world. But what if the most extraordinary thing about Jackie Chan isn't what he did on screen? What if the real story is what happened long before Hollywood knew his name? Because behind the smile, behind the success, and behind the laughter that made millions love him, there is a story of sacrifice so extreme that most people would never have survived it. A story of abandonment, pain, discipline, loneliness, and a childhood that would shape every decision he made for the rest of his life. And trust me, they couldn't take Jackie with them. Imagine being a child and discovering that your parents are leaving. Imagine not fully understanding why. Imagine watching them go while you stay behind. Most people have no idea that Jackie Chan spent much of his childhood separated from his family. At the age of 7, he was enrolled in the China Drama Academy. At first, that might sound like an opportunity, a prestigious school, professional training, a path toward success. But the reality was far harsher. The China Drama Academy wasn't a normal school. It was a place of relentless discipline. Children trained for up to 19 hours a day. 19 hours a day. Martial arts, acrobatics, acting, singing, physical conditioning, over and over again, day after day, year after year. Mistakes were punished. Perfection was expected. Failure was not tolerated. Many children broke under the pressure. Some left. Others simply couldn't endure the physical and emotional demands. But Jackie stayed, not because it was easy, because it wasn't, not because he loved every moment. Because he didn't, he stayed because there was no other choice. And because something inside him refused to quit. Years later, audiences would marvel at his discipline, his work ethic, his ability to perform dangerous stunts over and over until they were perfect. What most people didn't realize was that those habits had been forged during one of the toughest childhoods imaginable. And what happened inside that academy would leave a permanent mark on him. There was another challenge, loneliness. While other children returned home to their families, Jackie often lived almost entirely within the academy's walls. The instructors became authority figures. The other students became brothers. Together they suffered. Together they trained. Together they dreamed of a future that felt impossibly distant. One of those boys would later become known around the world as Sammo Hung. Another would become Yuan Biao. At the time, however, they were simply children trying to survive a demanding environment. The friendships they built would become some of the strongest relationships of their lives. But even friendship couldn't erase the reality of what they were experiencing. Jackie would later describe those years as incredibly difficult. The training was relentless. The expectations were overwhelming. And yet something remarkable was happening. Without realizing it, he was developing skills that would eventually make him unique in the film industry. Not just martial arts, not just acrobatics, resilience, determination, the ability to keep going when everything hurt. And that ability would soon be tested in ways nobody could imagine. Because when Jackie finally left the academy, the success he had dreamed about didn't arrive, at least not immediately. In fact, his first years in the entertainment industry were filled with disappointment. The world wasn't waiting for Jackie Chan. Hollywood certainly wasn't. Even Hong Kong cinema had little interest in making him a star. He worked small jobs, performed as a stuntman, took whatever opportunities he could find. Sometimes he was barely noticed. Sometimes he was completely ignored. And there were moments when the dream seemed to be slipping away. But then something happened, something that could have ended his career forever, or transformed it. At the time, Bruce Lee was the biggest martial arts star on the planet. Everyone wanted another Bruce Lee. Studios were desperately searching for someone who could replace him, someone who could continue the phenomenon. Many believed Jackie Chan might become that person. There was only one problem. Jackie Chan wasn't Bruce Lee. And no matter how hard the industry tried, audiences could tell. The film struggled. The strategy failed. Critics weren't impressed. Fans weren't convinced. Imagine spending years fighting for an opportunity, finally getting it, and then watching it fall apart. For many performers, that would have been the end. But Jackie Chan made a decision that changed everything. Instead of becoming the next Bruce Lee, he decided to become the first Jackie Chan. It sounds simple, but that choice altered film history. Instead of playing the invincible hero, Jackie embraced vulnerability. Instead of appearing perfect, he embraced mistakes. Instead of hiding pain, he showed it. His characters got scared. They got hurt. They failed. They improvised. They survived. And audiences loved it. Because for the first time, they weren't watching a superhero. They were watching a human being. And that human connection would eventually make Jackie Chan one of the most beloved stars in the world. But success came at a price so extreme that many people still don't know the full story. Because over the next several decades, Jackie would suffer injuries that sound almost unbelievable. Broken fingers, broken ribs, broken ankles, broken toes, dislocated shoulders, fractures across much of his body, and one accident in particular nearly killed him. We'll get to that story, and trust me, when you hear what happened, you'll understand why millions of people see Jackie Chan differently today. But before we get there, I want to ask you something. When you think about Jackie Chan, what comes to mind first? The action, the comedy, the stunts, or something else entirely? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying discovering the hidden side of remarkable people, consider subscribing to See Beyond the Spotlight. Because in part 2, we're going to uncover the most dangerous chapter of Jackie Chan's life. The accident that almost ended everything, and the surprising acts of generosity that revealed who he truly became beyond fame and success. The year was 1986. By that point, Jackie Chan had already built a reputation as one of the most fearless performers in the world. He wasn't just acting in action scenes, he was living them. While many stars relied on doubles, Jackie insisted on performing his own stunts. Again, and again, and again, every film pushed the limits further. Every success encouraged him to attempt something even more dangerous. Audiences loved it, producers loved it, but there was a hidden cost, and sooner or later, that cost would come due. During the filming of Armor of God, Jackie prepared for what seemed like a routine stunt, a jump from a castle wall onto a tree branch. He had performed difficult stunts thousands of times before. The crew wasn't especially worried. Neither was Jackie. The cameras rolled. Jackie jumped, and then everything went wrong. The branch snapped. In a split second, he lost control. He fell, headfirst, onto a rock. The impact was catastrophic. A piece of bone was driven into his brain. Blood began filling his skull. For a terrifying moment, nobody knew if he would survive. The situation was critical. Emergency surgery became necessary. Doctors fought to save his life. Later, Jackie would learn just how close he had come to dying. In fact, he was left with a permanent hole in his skull. To this day, he wears a plastic plate behind his ear. Think about that for a moment. 1 second, one broken branch, and the world may never have known Jackie Chan as we know him today. The movies that followed, gone. The legacy, gone. The millions of lives he would later impact, gone. Yet somehow Jackie survived. And what happened next revealed something extraordinary about his character. Most people would have walked away. Most people would have chosen safety. Most people would have decided they had already risked enough. Jackie Chan returned to work, not because he was reckless, because he believed deeply in what he was creating, because he understood something most people don't. Great achievements often require uncomfortable sacrifices. But there is an important distinction. Jackie never glorified pain. He simply accepted it as part of his journey. Over the years, the list of injuries became almost unbelievable. A fractured skull, broken fingers, broken cheekbones, damaged vertebrae, dislocated shoulders, torn muscles, countless stitches, hospital visits that became routine. At one point, even insurance companies reportedly struggled to evaluate the risks associated with his productions. His body became a living record of every challenge he had faced. Every scar told a story. Every injury represented a moment when he refused to quit. And yet, despite all the pain, something remarkable happened. Success finally arrived, not gradually, explosively. Jackie Chan became one of the biggest stars in Asia, then one of the biggest stars in the world. His films crossed cultural boundaries. Language barriers disappeared. Audiences everywhere understood his humor, his determination, his humanity. Children loved him. Adults admired him. Filmmakers respected him. And unlike many celebrities who become distant as fame grows, Jackie maintained a unique connection with ordinary people. Perhaps because he never forgot where he came from. Perhaps because he never forgot the child who felt abandoned. The child who trained until exhaustion. The child who spent years fighting simply for an opportunity. And this is where the hidden side of Jackie Chan begins to emerge. Because behind the action hero was a man increasingly focused on helping others. Over the years, Jackie became deeply involved in charitable work. Not for publicity, not for headlines, because he genuinely believed success should serve a larger purpose. He supported children's causes, educational programs, disaster relief efforts, healthcare initiatives, scholarships, community projects. The exact projects changed over time. The principle remained the same. If he had the ability to help, he wanted to help. And perhaps that mindset makes perfect sense. Because people who understand struggle often recognize it in others. People who know hardship rarely forget it. Jackie certainly didn't. One of the most fascinating things about his story is the contrast. On screen, he was constantly fighting villains, jumping from buildings, escaping explosions, making audiences laugh. Off-screen, however, many of his efforts focused on building, supporting, giving, creating opportunities. The world saw the action star. The people he helped saw something else, a human being trying to make a difference. And here's something many viewers may not realize. Jackie Chan's greatest achievement may not be a film at all. It may be what he proved. He proved that adversity does not have to create bitterness. Think about his childhood, his parents leaving for Australia, years of extreme discipline, loneliness, physical pain, professional rejection, near-death experiences. Any one of those events could have created resentment. Yet somehow Jackie transformed those experiences into fuel, into gratitude, into generosity, into resilience. That transformation may be the most inspiring part of his story, because success didn't erase his struggles. It gave meaning to them. And perhaps that's why people around the world continue to connect with him. Not because he's perfect, not because he's fearless, but because he's human. When audiences watch Jackie Chan films, they see someone who gets knocked down and gets back up. Again, what many don't realize is that this wasn't acting. It was his life, the same determination that helped him survive childhood, the same determination that helped him survive injury, the same determination that carried him through rejection. It became the foundation of everything he achieved. And maybe that's the real lesson hidden inside this story. The world often celebrates the result, the trophy, the movie, the success, but greatness is usually built in private, in difficult moments, in lonely moments, in moments when nobody is watching. Jackie Chan's story reminds us that the person people admire is often created long before anyone knows their name, long before the applause, long before the recognition, long before the spotlight. Today, millions know Jackie Chan as a legend, an icon, a global superstar. But beyond the spotlight, there is something even more impressive. A boy who endured separation from his family, a young man who survived extraordinary hardship, an artist who nearly lost his life pursuing excellence, and a human being who chose to use success to help others. That is the side of Jackie Chan that many people never see, and perhaps it is the side that matters most. So now I'd love to hear from you. What surprised you most about Jackie Chan's story? Was it his childhood, his injuries, or the way he chose to give back after everything he endured? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy discovering the hidden side of remarkable people, subscribe to See Beyond the Spotlight, because behind every famous face, there is a story far more powerful than fame itself. And we're just getting started.